back to the Peak Perspective podcast. I'm Alin Beane.
I'm James Perez.
And I'm Chase Dulude.
Mountain West basketball tournament starts tomorrow with the first game at 11 a.m. between number 9 Wyoming and number 8 San Jose State. Today we're going to preview the tournament and review our previous predictions. Chase, over to you. Save me from myself.
Yeah, no problem, bud. So, Wyoming, San Jose State, I feel like that's going to be a close matchup no matter what. Wyoming is just such a frustrating team to me because I feel like they have the talent to be so much better than they are. I mean, Wyoming has just become an infamous place for Mountain West teams to go and die. I mean, they kept it close in both games against New Mexico. They kept it close with Boise State over and over, Colorado State for a little bit. San Diego State in both matchups, they lost by 2 and then 3. But then they also lost both games to San Jose State. They lost to Fresno State, which should not be possible, especially
to end your season like that.
Yeah, and given Fresno State's controversy, I mean, that's a team that you should never lose to, and yet they did. And Wyoming has lost, 9 of 10 and 10 of 11 or 10 of 12 to close out their season. There is not a single team in this conference that has less momentum than Wyoming right now. And San Jose State, I mean, they kept it close in both matchups with New Mexico, or they beat them in one of them. So I don't know. I feel like Wyoming could easily pull the upset here, but they just haven't shown me anything. San Jose State is favored for a reason. Right. I think it's gonna be really close, but I'm going with San Jose State.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be a closer matchup for sure than I think most people are expecting. I think maybe 1 to 2 possession game for this one. But I am going to go with Wyoming as my upset of the first round for this one. I know, what you were saying, they were 1-9, 1-10 in their last couple games. But
no momentum.
I really do feel like Wyoming has the chance of being overlooked by the Spartans in this first round. And I don't know. I feel like they might just have something to prove in this one. So I'm going to go with Wyoming for my first round upset pick.
I mean,
awesome.
It's a 1.5 point spread for a reason. Yeah. I think it's gonna be close.
One of the close games of the first round for sure. Now we're on to Nevada, Fresno State.
Oh boy.
If we lose to Fresno State, I'm gonna eat my own hat.
Yeah. I don't know.
Look forward to a video podcast episode next time for that reason specifically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so Fresno State, they've had their controversy with betting on games and all that heading into this. I mean, if there's one team that has less momentum going into this than Wyoming does, it's Fresno State because what is it? They 1, 2, 3. Lost 13 of their last 14 to close out the season. So, I mean, Fresno State, they went 2-18 in conference play. They got blown out by Nevada when
they played at home. Well,
but they also took Nevada to overtime in Fresno. So this Nevada team, so frustrating. You can see the talent. Kobe Sanders is a monster. He can go off whenever he feels like it. A lot of the time, he either doesn't feel like it or a lot of the time, he just can't because everyone full court presses Nevada and they have no idea how to break it.
James, do you have an idea for that? Here. Last week we called Chase James, now I'm calling James Chase.
Yes.
There we go. But honestly, I think Nevada should be able to pull this one out. It's going to be close, even though it really, really shouldn't be whatsoever. I really want to see how Nevada responds with their free throw struggles in this matchup, because that is something that has been plaguing them over their last couple of games that they played. Some of those really close ones with New Mexico and Boise State at home most recently. Free throws are basically the main reason why they lost both of those matchups. But when you're playing against a Fresno State team who has only 2 wins in conference play, there's no reason why you should lose this game. I'm going to go with the Wolfpack in this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Nevada too. I could easily see I don't think Nevada covers that spread. 12.5 points, there's no way. There's no way.
Just for posterity's sake, what does this taste like? Hold on.
It tastes like a hat.
Okay, that's not going to be pleasant.
Yeah.
I hope to God we win. Now on to the final game of the first round. What I have written down as Air Force versus Nevada Southern.
Yeah, so...
Or sorry, the school down south that shall not be named.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so first off, why is UNLV favored by less in this matchup? against Air Force than Nevada is against Fresno State? Like, have people in Las Vegas not been watching at all?
Both of the Nevada based teams this year have been extremely inconsistent, and I'm going to be honest, you don't really know what you're going to get any given night, but it shouldn't be. I feel like the gap between UNLV and Air Force should be bigger than Nevada and Fresno State for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like Air Force 1-19 in conference play. They have won 4 games and lost 27 of them. I mean, this team is just bad. And while I know last year Air Force was terrible, and yet they went into Las Vegas in the regular season and just ran UNLV out of their own building by 32 points. But this year, neither of the matchups were really that close. UNLV won by an average of 22. As funny as it would be to see UNLV lose this game, I want them to keep Kruger for another year. So let's have UNLV winning.
This one shouldn't be that close.
No, it
honestly.
won't
I feel
be.
like this should be like the lock of the first round out of any of them.
Yeah, UNLV just I don't see them losing this.
See, I see where you guys are at, but I don't want to root for UNLV out of principle. So go Air Force, baby!
Yeah.
All right.
You heard it here first, folks.
Bold takes here on the Peak Perspective podcast.
All right, so I guess moving on to round 2 now, we got New Mexico against San Jose State. Now, New Mexico, 1 seed, far and away the best team in the conference tournament. I feel like they're the only team in the Mountain West Conference that is pretty much a tournament lock. I think the only way they miss the tournament is if they lose in their first matchup, and they better hope to God that James is right about Wyoming, because while New Mexico played Wyoming close in both matchups, who was New Mexico's first conference loss?
San Jose State.
San Jose State.
Yep. I mean, it was a 1-point loss in San Jose. So, like, I could see New Mexico just respecting San Jose State more than a normal 1 seed would respect an 8 seed in a tournament, because they've seen firsthand what this San Jose State team can do. But San Jose State, really bad matchup for New Mexico. But in the tournament, that's where the star players on the best teams come out to play. And New Mexico probably has the best player in this entire conference.
By far, in a way, the best player, in my opinion, with Donovan Dent.
Donovan Dent is an absolute animal. This man single-handedly beat Nevada twice.
Yep.
I mean,
hung 20 in that first half in the most recent one, which is insane to see in person.
He's definitely going to put a dent in San Jose State's plans, don't you think?
Yeah, as much as I would love to see the pure chaos of San Jose State potentially knocking New Mexico out of the tournament, I don't really see it happening. I think this matchup is going to be really close, but I think New Mexico will pull it out in the end.
Yeah. I think it'll probably be around like a 2 or 3 score game. So not like super, super close, but, close enough that it'll probably be like within whatever the spread margin is for this one.
Yeah, I think
if that were to happen.
I think it'll be between 8 and 13 points.
Yeah, so somewhere around that range. But yeah, New Mexico, I got them moving on to the 3rd round.
This time I agree with you guys. We're agreeing 3-0 that New Mexico is going to beat San Jose State. And before we continue too much with the tournament, we're going to have a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. And we're back. We're going to start off with San Diego State and Boise State.
So San Diego State, they're the team from this conference that historically has a lot of tournament success. I mean, they made the championship game a couple years ago, and they consistently go deep into the Mountain West tournament and into March Madness consistently. It's hard to bet against San Diego State.
Really is.
But this team is bad. Like, the way I describe them to anyone who I'm talking with is Nevada, except they win. Because Nevada consistently plays everyone close, regardless of how bad that team is. San Diego State, exact same thing. They keep it close against the best teams in the conference and then sometimes lose. They also can get blown out on the regularity. I mean, they got swept by UNLV. I don't even think that should be possible. And then they barely beat Wyoming in the 2 matchups by a combined 5 points. It is insane. And then, of course, they blew Nevada out both times, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
San Diego State is just really inconsistent. They are a team that I just really don't trust this year. I mean, of course, on their day, they have wins against number 21
Mhm.
Creighton and against number 6, now number 4 Houston.
Yep.
They are a team that can beat anybody at any time for any
It
reason.
just depends which Aztec team shows up.
And
that matchup.
they did sweep Boise State in the regular season. So
did.
there is that. However, to me, Boise State, they were predicted to be at the top of the conference before the season. They've had a bit of a disappointing season, but they come into the Mountain West Conference tournament with a decent amount of momentum. I mean, they beat New Mexico, the top seed in the conference. They beat Utah State by 17. They've just shown a bit more to me than San Diego State has consistently. And as we figured out last year as Nevada fans against Colorado State, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times.
It really is.
So I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going with Boise State. I know it's hard to go against San Diego State, but I got to go with the Broncos.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really close matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a one-score game where it comes down to, like a last-second shot, which seems to be how most of these San Diego State games have been in recent memory and, the NCAA tournament. But I'm going to go with the Aztecs on this one. It's just really hard to pick against San Diego State in any tournament game, truthfully. Well, outside of those ones, I guess UConn.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
this is a team that's made it and has won a Mountain West championship in the last 2 years. So I don't think that they're going to get eliminated in their first game. So I'm going to go with San Diego State in this one to move on to the third round against New Mexico.
You guys are right. It is very hard to pick against the Aztecs, which is why I have them. So, Colorado State, Nevada. We were talking about this game last year. Now the seeds are reversed.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to root for a Wolfpack upset, especially considering they did lose both matchups against Colorado State, the first one at home by 3 and then lost by 8 in Fort Collins, but this Nevada team is one of the worst I've watched in my lifetime watching Wolfpack basketball. I mean, obviously there's been worse, but this team, it should be so much better. I mean, earlier this year, leading into the Shriners Hospital tournament, they were getting votes in the top 25 poll.
They started 6-0.
They started 4-0 and 6-1.
6-1, okay.
Because they did lose
they did lose to
Vanderbilt.
Vandy, yeah.
Consistently on and off top 25 team. So we have seen what this team can do. But ever since Washington State at home, it has just been all downhill. Every single team just does nothing but full court press the Wolfpack. And it's a strategy that good teams would punish or coherent teams would punish. You can't do that against New Mexico and expect that to work. But Nevada just cannot punish it. And over and over and over, you see Nevada's talent shine through. You see 30-point games from Kobe Sanders. You see great shooting nights from Xavier Dussel. You see fantastic games from Nick Davidson. It just never, ever, ever comes together. Free throws. We talked about it earlier.
Yep.
Just
That's number one.
Just consistently in a lot of their close losses. They played everybody close at home except San Diego State. They got blown out by them both times, but that's just normal. The Wolfpack's only ever beaten San Diego State 8 times total.
Yeah. So you're saying Colorado State?
Yeah, I want to go with the upset, but I mean, especially considering Nevada in this exact same scenario against the exact same team last year, lost. But there is nobody sick on Colorado State.
There's a little bit of a difference in this one. I'm sure that we'll all be rooting for Nevada in this one regardless. But logic, I think, tells us that Colorado State has the upper hand in this matchup. And Colorado State is, in my opinion, playing for their NCAA tournament lives.
Yes.
I think they're going to have a little bit more of, that extra edge on them to really, continue and push in this Mountain West tournament. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this one.
I think Nevada keeps it close, but
it'll be close. But
they don't have that it factor, and they're going to miss free throws down the stretch like usual. Maybe commit a stupid sloppy turnover on an inbound pass, or just turn the ball over for no reason by falling down. It's going to be some stupid mistake. causes this game to result in a loss, and Colorado State has just shown more to me this season. So
Do I root for Nevada out of principle?
I don't think so.
No, I don't. I think this time I'm going to go with Colorado State. All right, Utah State, UNLV.
So Utah State, they were ranked earlier in the year. They were, I mean, when we did our podcast, they were number 2 in the conference. They've now dropped to the 3 seed. Utah State, to me, has just shown me very little. It's a team that on their day, they can go off. I mean, they beat ranked San Diego State on the road, but they also lost inexplicably at UNLV. They got blown out by New Mexico, lost both times to them, and they're entering the tournament having lost 2 of their last 3 games in blowout fashion to Boise State and Colorado State. So Utah State is kind of limping into the tournament a little bit, and I just, again, the factor with this, especially if it is against UNLV, is Dayton Thomas available? Is he going to be available for this matchup? He's trending towards that right now, and like it or not, this is a home game for UNLV because that's how the tournament works. So as much as I don't want to, Utah State has just shown me nothing. I have to pick UNLV in this matchup.
They've been limping down the stretch of this regular season, and you definitely don't have as much faith as you would have said maybe like first month or 2 into the regular season. But I think it definitely does depend on Thomas's health of whether or not UNLV picks this one up. If Thomas does play, I'm gonna go with the Rebels in this one. But if not, I would lean Utah State. But I'm gonna assume that Thomas is healthy, so I'll go with the Rebels in this matchup.
I think no matter what, UNLV keeps it close.
Yeah, no, it'll definitely be a close game for sure. I mean, you just look at their games that they played this season.
And I think no matter what, I'm going to root against UNLV out of principle.
All right.
So, all right, back to the semifinals. We kind of talked about these teams already. So, New Mexico, San Diego State.
Again,
what are we thinking?
I don't think San Diego State makes it to this point. I think Boise State is in this slot, and I think they keep it close against the Lobos. But, like, no matter what, I don't think New Mexico loses in the conference semifinals.
So. Yeah,
no matter
way.
What. I mean, again, the best players in the conference always shine in crunch time, and that best player in this conference is indisputably Donovan Dent. And Richard Pitino, he's got his dad's DNA in him,
he knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. He has been taught how to win in March, so he's forging his own path, but he's a darn good coach, and I think the Lobos end up winning this one relatively easily.
I think this one will be one of the more comfortable wins of the tournament. Just regardless of whoever they play in this matchup. Like what you were saying, Chase, when it really comes down to crunch time, when it matters most, your star players are the ones who are always going to pull you out of it. We saw it in person.
Yeah.
What Donovan Dent did to the Wolfpack, and that was just one of the craziest. Like, it just seemed like no one could stop him.
He just demanded the ball and shot and made it almost every single time.
He was doing whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
So we're all pretty much in agreement on this one?
We're gonna go with the Lobos.
I don't think the Aztecs have much of a prayer here.
Back to the championship game.
Now to the other semifinal: Colorado State, UNLV. Colorado State.
Yeah, as much as UNLV's like magical run at this point, I don't see them really keeping it close with Colorado State. I mean,
I'm just glad we're rooting against UNLV.
There you go.
In the previous matchup in Las Vegas, UNLV did lose by 8 to Colorado State, but I remember watching that game. The final score was not as...
It was not as close as it.
That game was not as close as the final score indicated. UNLV, I mean, I feel like they have the pieces. They just don't have the coaching staff. I think Colorado State does, and especially considering Colorado State knows exactly what's at stake. NCAA tournament hopes. I mean, I feel like they're just gonna do whatever they want against UNLV. So I think it's a pretty easy win for the Rams.
I think the Rebels' run is gonna end here a little later than I think we would have liked it to in our little hypothetical that we have. But yeah, I mean, like we were saying earlier, the Rams are fighting for their postseason tournament hopes right now, right? So I just don't see a world where the Rams lose this matchup. It's still possible, but I think the Rams should win by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, same here.
So now on to the championship. New Mexico, Colorado State.
So we talked about it before. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. New Mexico swept Colorado State in the regular season. by 22 at the Pit and by 8 in Colorado. We talked about crunch time, right? You got to have the best players on the best teams doing things at the right time to advance and do anything. Donovan Dent is absolutely phenomenal. I think Nick Clifford is close because, I mean, he leads the Mountain West or is top 5 in pretty much every single
he's
category.
averaging near a double-double per game this season.
He is insane. 50.7 field goal percentage is absurd.
It's ridiculous.
He is a phenomenal player. And this Colorado State team, I mean, who did I predict a couple weeks ago?
You did say the Rams.
I did say the Rams. And honestly, like, I think, because another thing we talked about previously before the show was it's hard to win the conference tournament back-to-back. And New Mexico won it as the underdog last year. And, I mean, the underdog tends to get the best of the big dogs in the Mountain West. So I'm sticking with my prediction. I think Colorado State takes down New Mexico and wins the Mountain West Conference tournament.
I'm kind of sticking on that same side, too. I'm liking what the Rams have got. And it's like, you're saying, the underdog factor. They got that on their side.
It is really hard to win the conference tournament back-to-back years. You saw that with SDSU last year. And Clifford is, honestly, he's top 3 for sure in the conference. But I'm just looking at how they've matched up against the Lobos in their last couple of games. Clifford hasn't had his best stretch of games against the Lobos when they did play this season. Their most recent game, I mean, he had 9 points on 3 of 15 shooting. So he's definitely going to have a tremendous performance to be able to pull one out against the number 1 seed. But I think I got to stick with the team that's shown the most consistency for this entire season. Just up and down the stretch. I'm going to go with the New Mexico Lobos. I trust in my opinion, the best player in the Mountain West Conference, Donovan Dent, to be able to pull this one out at the end. So I do have the New Mexico Lobos repeating as Mountain West champions this year.
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not the boldest take we've had this episode.
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, we have the number 1 and number 2 seeds making it to the championship.
Yeah, I think these are the clear-cut best teams in the conference,
for sure.
especially down the stretch.
Yeah. So there you have it. We have Colorado State winning the Mountain West. Thank you guys so much for listening to the Peak Perspective podcast. We will see you guys in our next episode.